Guys, happy Friday. Thanks for joining us. We're here at Vinous Reverie Wine Merchant, Igor and Anu, and we're having a special tasting Facebook Live session. We are celebrating our 2-year anniversary of our store. So I'm super excited. We're having one of our own personal favorite wines. So yeah, tell me what we're having today.
We have Riesling.
Okay, great.
Mosel Riesling. Let me put it right here.
Okay.
All right, everybody. So, and I don't know if you guys could see, Riesling labels are always fun to read. So you have Max Ferdinand Richter. That's the name of the winery. You have the Veldenzer Elisenberg. So Veldenzer is the actual town, whereas Elisenberg it's a vineyard name. And then Spätlese is the right...
Spätlese.
Oh.
Spätlese is
Spätlese.
the correct, I think, pronunciation. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the actual ripeness level of this wine. So it's very complex, just like Riesling, and the complexity is one of the reasons that we love it.
Yes, I do love Riesling a lot. And I know you got a lot of details about the wine, and I've got history on the winery, so we'll do that part last, right?
Yes.
Cool.
Yeah, so Riesling, it's a very complex grape, and obviously we chose it because we love it.
Yes.
But a lot of people kind of, I would say, misunderstand it. Wine professionals love this grape. One of the reasons is because it could age forever because of its high acidity level. So longevity is one good thing of it, and then the other thing of it is it transmits characteristics of a particular place without losing the character of the grape. And the other grape that's very famous for doing that is Pinot Noir. So Riesling is the white grape that transmits character perfectly, and then Pinot Noir is the other grape. And you cannot manipulate a Riesling. It's kind of the opposite of Chardonnay, where a lot of people say Riesling is the grape of the land versus Chardonnay is the grape of the winemaker. So winemaker tries to manipulate Chardonnay any way they can, whereas Riesling you can't manipulate it with oak or with non-lactic fermentation. It is what it is. It expresses itself from the place, the soil that it comes from.
Right. So Chardonnay is an interpretive grape, so you can kind of interpret it based on how you want to make it, but not Riesling. And I think the other reason why I'm always promoting Riesling to people is there's a lot of mass-produced subpar Riesling out there, and that's unfortunate because I think people kind of make assumptions that that's what Riesling is, but Riesling can actually be exquisite in flavor profile. So
well, yeah, and I think in the 1970s, if I kind of remember my history correctly, there was the Blue Nun Riesling where they made like the super sweet cloying Rieslings, and it kind of flooded the marketplace. And since that point, everybody thinks, oh, Riesling is too sweet. It's too sweet. But a lot of it, I think, comes from people who haven't even tasted Riesling. Because Riesling is a beautiful combination of, you have a really nice acidity, some sweetness, and we'll talk about the sweetness, and then the tropical fruit. And a great Riesling just like dances in your mouth and has like a very extended finish.
Yes.
So in fact, in the before the Blue Nun kind of epidemic that started this thing,
bad PR.
Yes. Yeah, well, in the 19th and early 20th century, Rieslings were prized and higher priced than a lot of the first growth Bordeaux's.
Yes.
So now it completely switched off, where they're still expensive Rieslings, but nothing like the first growth Bordeaux. But at one point, they were treasured wines, and they're still treasured wines. Just the demand for them has waned because it's still trying to recover from the Blue Nun incident.
Yeah, and if I can interrupt a little bit, when I was doing research on the winery, I did see that they said that wines from this vineyard area have been served to royalty in Germany and London for like some time ago. So
yes,
yeah.
So if you want to kind of start us off in the ripeness versus dryness, and I might jump in if
I'm not sure if I have enough of a command on this. I know there's different types of Riesling, right?
Yes.
And so I know there's Trocken, Cabernet, Spätlese. Auslese, Beerenauslese, and then Trockenbeerenauslese.
Yes.
So I know that takes us from sugar content and sweetness. There's all sorts of levels there. So can you kind of provide a little bit of clarity on what's what? So
Yes.
we're having a Spätlese, which is a sweet, sweeter.
It actually translates into late harvest.
Late harvest. Okay.
Yeah. So you kind of you actually mixed kind of the two groups together.
Okay.
So you have the dryness to sweetness level, which is trocken. Whenever you see trocken, that means it's dry. Then you have half trocken or fine herb, which both mean off dry, and then there's liebliche, which means sweet. So
Okay.
that's from dryness to sweetness level.
Okay.
But then there's also the ripeness of Riesling, and ripeness is how long do you let it sit on the vine.
Okay.
So then it goes from Cabernet, Spätlese, Auslese, Beerenauslese, Trockenbeerenauslese.
Okay.
So it goes from late harvest, select harvest, berry select harvest, and dry berry select harvest. So the riper it is, the more residual sugar is in them.
So it's dry. The grapes dry up, and there's more sugar in the grape
Yes.
itself.
Yes.
Versus what the dry wines. That's when you allow the yeast to eat all the sugar up.
Yes.
So there's lower sugar content left in the wine. So that's the difference.
Well, so Auslese, its higher ripeness is typically it's sweeter, but you can have an Auslese Trocken, meaning it's a dry wine, even though it was very ripe, because as you mentioned it, the fermentation took longer and it became drier wine than it would have been otherwise. So it's, as we were showing you in the beginning, the labors are fascinating and the styles are fascinating, and we'll actually go to the Mosel, the place where this is from, which is just as fascinating. So if you guys, I got my little map here.
All right, awesome.
All right, so
no tasting is complete without the paper map.
yeah, we have the Veldenzer right there in red. So it's right there, kind of in the middle, Mosel. And if you guys could see, the Mosel kind of winds. So you got like the lower Mosel, goes middle Mosel, upper Mosel, and it has a lot of towns. And then within these towns, they have a lot of vineyards. And the beauty, as we were mentioning about Riesling, is that these vineyards mostly are on slate soil, which is what it's famous for, and very steep slopes. But they have different, depending, how they face the sun, and each vineyard has like a different style.
Okay.
As you could say, it's just fascinating. As you could see all the towns around the region and all the different vineyards. It'd be like an awesome river tour to taste all these spectacular Riesling. So this is from. So one of the reasons to read it. So this is called Veldenzer Elisenberg. Mm-hmm. So Veldenz is the actual town.
Okay.
Zer means it's like towns, vineyard, and the name of the vineyard is Elisenberg.
Yes.
So,
cool.
so you have the town name and then the vineyard, and frequently within a particular town and vineyard, many wineries they share the vineyard and they make wines from a particular vineyard. But this is a monopole vineyard, meaning that Max Richter is the only winery that actually makes wine in that particular vineyard.
Yes, and I have a great backstory, so you just tell me when you're ready for that.
I'm ready for the backstory because I want to taste the
well,
wine.
you taste the wine, and I'll start with the backstory. So this is a fascinating winery. This vineyard was planted in 1850 by Frank Ludwig Niesen, who was the fourth generation owner of this winery, Max Ferdinand. And the estate was founded in 1680 as a wine exporting company. They purchased vineyards in Braunberg in 1643, and they had a mansion that they added, garden. So the winery was built in 1880. But the coolest thing is this winery is 9 generations owned, and the 10th generation is also working at the winery. So I thought that was just so cool. Yeah. And then a little bit about the vineyard that you were talking about, the Veldenzer Elisenberg. It was planted by Richter ancestor Frank Ludwig Niesen following the Napoleonic Wars in 1850. And it was named after the late but still popular Queen Louisa of Prussia. And what's super interesting is that the land was gifted to him as a thank you because Niesen, he saved the city from Napoleon's invasion and he was going to sack the city. But apparently the ancestor of this winery saved it and he was granted the land for that reason. So I thought it was just a super cool backstory on the history of the winery and the estate. And if I can do tasting notes, I haven't tasted it yet, but this wine is $28.99, and I mean the ratings are off the charts. Like you have to buy this wine. If you're gonna taste this wine, you're not gonna regret it. And if you're a critics person, 95 points Robert Parker, 93 points Mosel, 93 points Vinous, 92 points Wine Spectator. I mean, this is so highly rated. Like you have to buy this wine and taste it. So you had it first. Tell me what you think in terms of flavor profile.
Well, once again, great acidity, peach, apricot, the stone fruit that it's famous for, long finish, slight sweetness, slight fizz to it, so like sparkle to it.
Yes.
And it's interesting. I was going over the winery's notes, like what they said, and they mentioned something interesting that when I read it, I didn't know what it means, but it says whipped cream, and yes, I could taste whipped cream on that. Once they mention it, I would never say it myself, but it's a fascinating, tasting note to this.
Yeah, no, I mean, everybody kind of interprets it a little bit differently, but right on, like floral, pear, peach, like vanilla cream is kind of what I'm getting. But this is a lovely wine, not too sweet, very delicate. In terms of food pairings, it's got some sweetness, so it can handle a little bit of spice, but I mean, I think lobster, scallops, fish, those kind of things would be spectacular because it's an exquisite wine. You might as well have a really nice meal with it.
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons why a lot of wine professionals adore Riesling, is because it's so versatile. Yes. So it's got acidity to cut through like creamy dishes, and then it's got enough fruit balance to pair well with spicy dishes.
Yes,
so
absolutely.
Yeah, so you got kind of maybe European style creamy dishes versus Southeast Asian style spicy dishes. Yes. So it's delicious, and great pick for our anniversary taste today.
Yes, awesome. Well, thanks so much for joining us. I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up. If you haven't checked us out, if you're watching us somewhere on a different platform, check out our shop in Walnut Creek, Vinous Reverie Wine Merchant. Follow us on YouTube, follow us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. We're the best wine store in the East Bay. We've got the best curated selection. Yes. We have wines you can't find anywhere else. Literally, you can't find them anywhere else.
Yeah.
And we do personal sommelier services, you name it. So check us out.
Yeah, absolutely. You reach out to me. I'll be glad to help you out. And as we say, hashtag best wine store ever.
Awesome. Thanks so much. See you guys next week. Take care. Bye.
Bye, guys.